most important commercial port, Southampton. Massive liners like the Queen Mary 2 make regular trips to New York from here. But more infamously, in April 1912, the Titanic's maiden and only voyage began from this port. Southampton is also the starting point of historian Neil Oliver's flight to Alderney, the third largest of the Channel Islands, and the place on our shores which bears the scars of invasion more vividly than anywhere else. The British Isles comprise over 6,000 islands, many of which we'll visit on this journey. But unlike the Scottish Islands, or say the Isle of Wight, the Channel Islands are technically not part of the United Kingdom. Even so, they come under the protection of the British Crown. 65 years ago, that protection was tested to breaking point. During the Second World War, the Channel Islands were occupied by German forces. Alderney became home to 4 forced labour camps and nearly 7,000 slave labourers.
Those are the bare facts. What they don't tell you, though, is what the slave labourers were really doing on Alderney and what their day-to-day existence was actually like. Well, that's it, I'm through. No passport control, no customs, because I'm still in Britain. By 1940, with the German forces in control of Western Europe, the first invasion of British soil in nearly 900 years looked inevitable. 7.5 miles from the French coast, the people of Alderney were going to be the first Britons to be overrun.
We shall fight on the beaches, we shall fight on the landing grounds, we shall fight in the fields and in the streets, we shall fight in the hills.
Of course, there were a few beaches that Britain wasn't going to be fighting on. After the fall of France, the Channel Islands were in the front line, and the British Army took the decision that the best move was to evacuate the islands and leave their fate in the lap of the gods. So this is where it took place then, the evacuation?
Buster Hammond was among the first to be given the order to evacuate.
I mean, can you describe what that was like? I can't imagine the thought of, you know, leaving everything I've known.
I know. I mean, when the door of the house that you're living in is opened, you never lock them anyway, and a man's voice shouts up the stairs, the boats are in, you've got 2 hours to leave, to board, 1 suitcase each. I mean, what do you go to get, actually, in cases like that? We were more concerned about the cat.
When you were all down here waiting to get on the boats, what was the atmosphere like?
No panic, no panic. We just waited our turn, got on board the boats, just as simple as that. I dare say there was a few tears here and there, but naturally, you know, you left. I mean, some of the people had never been off the island.
The islanders were taken to England, uncertain when, or even if, they would ever see Alderney again.
Once that last ship had sailed, the island of Alderney was abandoned, and here St Anne's was a deserted ghost town. Clothes left hanging in wardrobes, fires going cold in the hearths. The whole place was at the mercy of whoever was coming. Within days of the evacuation, Luftwaffe reconnaissance planes were circling the island like vultures. Then, on the 2nd of July, the Nazis landed on Alderney soil for the very first time.
The Germans had invaded an empty island, and it wasn't long before they began to implement their plans for Alderney.
It was one of the principal Channel Islands, and effectively they were providing offshore gun platforms for the defence of the mainland of France.
In 1941, Hitler ordered the construction of huge bunkers like this, as well as gun emplacements and fortifications all over the island.
Tiny little door's the only way in.
It is. Pretty impressive structure, isn't it?
Look at the depth of the wall as well.
2 metres thick, concrete, reinforced. There we are. Turn through 90 degrees here.
Lead on.
On the right we've got an entrance defence position. And this corridor then leans forward.
Ah, daylight.
Yeah, there you get an idea of the panorama.
Oh, that's just brilliant, isn't it? What a view. I'm beginning to realise what the concentration camps must have been for. The scale of construction here is awesome. They were labour camps for the building of these bunkers. And the masterminds behind this scheme were the infamous German construction force, Organisation Tod.
The Organisation Tod cut their teeth on the building of the German Autobahn system and the fortifications of the West Wall in Germany, so that by the time they came to the occupied countries of Europe, they were experienced in building this type of fortification.
So is this literally the book that you could work from to build your defensive position?
Yes, absolutely. It's the pocketbook carried by the engineers when they came to the site.
I love these artists' impressions of what your finished bunker's going to look like once the grass is back.
It's chilling how clinical these plans are, because however sanitised they look, you can never forget they were built by slaves.
The forced labourers who worked here for Organisation Tod were accommodated in 4 camps, all of them named after German North Sea islands. There was Helgoland, Borkum, Sylt, and right down there, Alderney.
Camp Alderney held over 1,500 prisoners from all over occupied Europe. They were kept in filthy wooden shacks. Today, nothing remains, no clue to the story of what happened here. One of the last surviving prisoners is 82-year-old Monsieur David Trat, a French Jew who was only brought here and spared the death camps of Auschwitz because his wife was a Christian.
Le réveil, c'était 5 heures. On travaillait 12 heures par jour. On crevait de faim. On avait faim, mais c'est très difficile à expliquer cette faim parce que ça n'a rien à voir avec... Dans la vie courante, on dit j'ai faim, mais là, on ne pense qu'à manger. On est obsédé par la nourriture.
How were you treated by the guards here?
On était frappé constamment ici, toujours, un peu tous les jours.
We were beaten with everything they could lay their hands on, with sticks, spades, and then we didn't get any food. There were many men among us over 70 years of age, but nobody was spared. Hard physical work for 12. Sometimes we were accused of laziness, but mostly we were beaten out of hatred.
How did you survive?
C'est la chance, le moral, parce qu'on espérait, c'était l'espérance de revenir de retrouver sa famille, de retrouver les siens.
Many would never see their families again. No one knows exactly how many died in the labour camps on Alderney. The official figure is 437, but many believe that the death toll was much, much higher. The surviving slave workers were finally moved from the island to camps on mainland Europe on the 7th of May, 1944. 1 month later, the liberation of Europe began, but the Channel Islands remained under increasingly desperate German occupation for a further year. Finally, in May 1945, the Germans surrendered. Buster Hammond was one of the first islanders to return home.
It was so exciting, and the thing that struck us most was the number of buildings that had been put up by the Germans. And when we came inside the breakwater, one of our local men, a Salvationist, put the trumpet up and played Home Sweet Home. it was just the sheer magic of being 5.5 years late to come back.
For Monsieur Tratt, coming back to Alderney is a more difficult experience.
Une grande émotion, une très grande émotion. Quand on arrive sur le terrain là, ah ça fait... Pourtant je suis venu bien des fois, mais à chaque fois il y a une émotion très très grande, très très grande. Pour moi ça a été absolument décisif, ça a marqué ma vie, définitivement. J'oublierai jamais ça, j'oublierai jamais ça.